Hi, everyone. Welcome again. It's Renee from High Class Pineapple. I am joined here today by Nick Scalera. And Nick has been in the cannabis space forever. And he is probably one of the best resources that I've ever found. Nick, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Nick, can you tell everyone a little bit about you, your history, your background in cannabis, and really what you do?
I started out actually in corporate America. Initially on the technical side, I was an IT guy, and then maybe mid-career switched over to get into business. Was moving along in that until about 4 years ago when Phil Murphy was running for governor of New Jersey, and he was talking about legalizing adult use cannabis, expanding the medical program. And I thought, wow, this sounds kind of interesting. Maybe this is something I should look into as a specialty. And I did my due diligence and learned all there was to learn about legalization in the United States, and specifically New Jersey and the surrounding states, and decided to start a business. And so I did that. NJ Cannabis Consulting. We focus on really three lines of business. One is we help people in the cannabis business per se, in that we help them get into it. The second line of business is really for the ancillary businesses, that is, people who are not in the cannabis business per se, but they have products and services that are needed. And the third area is really an outgrowth. We now are in the process of getting ready to launch something called the Cannabis Learning Center, which will be an online collection of courses related to cannabis for a variety of audiences, ranging from the cannabis users, so there'll be recipes and things like that, and also medical patients, as well, medical professionals, entrepreneurs, how to write a business plan for cannabis, all of those kinds of courses.
That's awesome. So instead of like a jack of all trades, you're a Mary Jane of all trades.
Good. All right, we'll go with that.
You like that? You should put that on the website. Okay. So today we're really going to be focusing on the business plan for cannabis entrepreneurs who have to write a business plan, who may have never done so before. And that's one of the areas that you're really an expert in. So can you talk a little bit about how a cannabis business plan differs from just your traditional, typical business plan?
First of all, I'm a firm believer that every business needs a business plan, and SCORE is the Service Corps of Retired Executives, a completely volunteer organization with tens of thousands of volunteers throughout the United States, ready, willing, and able to help people start their business, any kind of business per se. As it gets into cannabis, it can be a little tricky, however, because cannabis is still illegal at the federal level, and SCORE is funded by the Small Business Administration, a branch of the federal government. The people that you deal with, depending on the chapter, depending on the individual, may or may not want to help you with your cannabis business plan in terms of counseling and one-on-one sessions, which is one of the services they provide to anybody who asks for that kind of help. But in any case, you can still go to score.org, download their business plan templates, access all of their resources. There is a link there I would like to connect with a small business consultant. Someone will call you, and then you can tell them the situation, and that's when you'll find out whether or not they need to follow essentially the SCORE rules, or they are willing to act independently and help you despite that. So lots of great resources there. I recommend that everybody who's thinking about this download the business plan template, see what's in there. You will understand then what you do know about running the business and what you don't know about running the business, but you better find out some way, shape, or form. Now, in the cannabis space, things are a little, I want to say, trickier, a little more difficult, a little more complicated. So there's going to be a lot in there that is very, very specific about security, for example. Inventory control. Oh my goodness, there's something called seed to sale. So if you're in fact handling cannabis, you need to be tracking that very, very carefully. That is one of the compliance issues in any state, that the regulators are going to be very concerned that you are carefully tracking the plant, as they say, from seed to sale. Some of the normal business things also, by the way, turned out to be a little trickier. For example, banking, it can be very challenging, and as you well know, in the cannabis space because many banks will not accept cannabis businesses, but they also have their challenges as well. So check the fees, check the waiting times. All of those can be an issue. Again, big proponent of business plans, no matter what business you're in, for a variety of reasons, including a roadmap to your business. It should explain to everybody, all those that I mentioned, and even prospective employers, what your business is all about, how it's going to be run, what the outcome is going to be, especially for investors. They want to look at the numbers. Will my investment be protected? Do I have confidence that these people know what they're doing? They look at the management team as well, the experience for all the people who are going to be involved in the business, and other things as well, hiring practices, employee manuals, et cetera, et cetera.
Now, you mentioned one thing, you mentioned the SCORE business template. I have seen so many different business templates. I mean, if you Google business template, it's just like pages and pages. How do you pick the best business template for your business?
Okay, I think a basic one is fine. It almost doesn't matter. I've seen a lot as well, and that's why I said, business plan is different. It can mean different things to different people, and obviously they're written to different outlines for business plans. I like the SCORE one. It covers all the bases. That's not to say that others wouldn't be just as good. To me, it's more important that get anyone, start working, and if there's any question, people certainly can email me and ask me what I think of that particular template that they're using. As far as the canned ones, I don't know. I think it would have to be really customized. Obviously, things are different in every state. So unless it's specifically written for your type of business in your state, I would be careful about that. It may or may not be worth the money.
Fabulous. And how can people find, if they want the SCORE one, what's the best way for them to find that template?
Sure. I would advise anyone to go to score.org, look around. There's lots of resources, lots and lots of resources. There's videos. You can register even for webinars. You can join a local chapter. There are hundreds of chapters. In New Jersey alone, there's probably 10 chapters or so.
Yeah, SCORE, again, is a free service, so you have to take
all the services are free. The counselors are free.
The one thing that I know is a pain point for people, including myself, is the financial plan. And I know that's a huge topic, but what are some tips that you have for maybe top 3 for tackling the pro forma, the financial plan?
Yeah, the pro forma, I think is my personal feeling, is probably the most important of all of the forms, because essentially it lays out the 2 basic components, which are your revenue stream and your expenses. And it's important to start to really sharpen your pencil with respect to, especially the expenses. Those you should be able to get your arms around pretty easily. The revenue side can be trickier. I wrote an article once, I think it was for New Jersey kind of Business Insider, and it was called Passing the Red Face Test. And the red face test is the test that when you're explaining to someone where you got your financials, you can say it without getting embarrassed. So you have enough credibility behind those numbers so that you can make whatever assumptions you think are reasonable. But to my way of thinking, the best way to start is start with a solid number. Okay, so if, for example, you're in the dispensary business, I want to know things like, what is the population within that area? In whatever geographic circumference I think, or radius I think, that people I'll be able to draw from. Okay, so what is the population? What are the demographics? And then there's actually statistics that are available in the industry that allow you to translate that kind of information into purchasing based on behavior patterns, age demographics, gender demographics, even income demographics, and so forth. So there's a way to do it for sure. And in fact, when I was doing some financials on a plan about, well, it's probably 3 years ago, I thought, there's got to be a science to this. So in fact, I did start and sponsored a college internship program And the student, very smart student, he developed a model for us that we can now use. And you can put in a zip code, for example, and it will, using the demographics, US Census data for that particular area, for the zip code area, and the surrounding areas, however you choose or you believe you're going to pull from, that you can actually translate that into, through all of the calculations in the model, into a revenue projection.
That's really helpful to give people kind of those specifics of where to look, for your financials, because I feel like that in itself, you're dealing with such a new industry, and especially if you're dealing with it in Jersey, where it's a new state, you don't always know where to go, especially that can be challenging. You talked about the fact that SCORE will review your business plans, which I know is a great low cost option. In terms of hiring other consultants or people who say that they can help you write a business plan, does everyone need to do that? Is it really something you can do on your own? And if you are going to hire someone, you're fortunate enough to be able to hire someone to help you write the business plan. What should you be looking for to make sure that you're not getting ripped off, and really to make sure that you're getting your money's worth?
Download the template and see what's in a business plan. Okay. And then you'll know, is this something that's over my head, or is it something I need help with? I liken it to income taxes. I mean, some people like to do their own income taxes. Some people see a dollar sign and they run the other way. Okay. And lots of people in between, of course. So if you have done business plans, you can probably do it here. There's just a ton of resources and information on the internet for sure, to help you with it. There may be certain areas of cannabis that you are experienced in that you can complete those sections. You may need help with other sections, but you'll know. Okay. Now, as far as looking for somebody, I would not hire anybody who has not done cannabis business plans before. Okay. This is not an on-the-job training kind of exercise. So that's critically important that they've done those kinds of business plans before. And if it's a cannabis consultant, you want to make sure, on the other hand, that they've done business plans before. So some cannabis consultants, they consult in different areas. So some people will help you set up your store and, do the construction and the architecture, and they're cannabis consultants for sure. And there's others that are experienced in, social media and building websites, and they're cannabis consultants. So you want to make sure that you're getting a business consultant that's done business plans before, and especially in the area that your business is going to be in. They should provide you as much detail in the proposal that they can, to make you feel comfortable that the business plan that they produce is going to be sufficient for you.
Yeah, and to your point, I do think it's important, if you are an entrepreneur, it's your business. So you shouldn't want to hand it off to somebody else and just be like, okay, here it is, because it's your business and you have to make sure it's going to work. So you have to be a part of that process.
One more thing. I mean, and it's critically important that it be customized, especially for the financials.
Well, this has been a very informative session. So much information. Now, if people want to get a hold of you for SCORE advice, for business planning advice, for consulting advice, for all the other things that you do, what is the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Go to my website, njcannabisconsulting.com, fill out the contact form, which allows me to learn a little bit more about you, your location, what you have in mind, membership of your team, a little bit of experience. So, and then I call and we have a nice conversation. And my son built my website, and he did an extraordinary job of SEO, because I get a lot of calls. And so I talk to a lot of people, and a lot of it is me, the SCORE mission kind of coming out. And so I spend a lot of time just educating people on the cannabis industry in New Jersey. And there's a lot of misunderstanding and ignorance for sure about it. And so in many cases, once I explain what's going to be involved, and most people go away and to do homework or decide what the next steps are going to be and whether this is really for them. I typically give people a lot of homework to determine on their own whether this is going to be feasible for them or not before they spend any money whatsoever, which again, I'm trying to avoid them doing.
I don't know. You must have like unlimited hours in the day though, because you're always available when I need you, which is crazy because you're like a busy guy, but very available, which I appreciate.
Very welcome.
Well, thank you so much for doing this. This is awesome. I learned so much,
Pleasure.
as always.
Good.
Thank you, Nick.
I'll go back to my canopy.